I had a question from one of my subscribers about turning a tricky detail, and I thought the answer might be interesting enough to make a short video about. I hope you agree. The question revolves around how we deal with details like sweeps or tapers that start right up against a detail like a bead. Now, if a woodturner's designed it, they know the issues surrounding cutting this detail, and so what we would normally do is put a little fillet in before cutting the detail. Let me show you that now. So when there's a fillet in, it gives us plenty of space to start cutting in and creating this taper. There's no real issue at all. There's plenty of space to get in there with the tool and create that shape. Maybe then carry on either with a roughing gouge or with a skew chisel. But what if that fillet isn't there? Sometimes these things are designed by designers who have never used a lathe at all, so they don't know the problems. Maybe it's been made by a highly skilled craftsman from past times who really is just showing off. Well, in that case, there's a couple of options. Picking up the cut with a standard skew is quite tricky because if you remember from my previous videos on the skew chisel, you really shouldn't be cutting on this side, above the center line. And so if we try and get in here, you can see we've got all sorts of issues with this kind of no-go area trying to cut in here. So unless you're Steve Jones, you're probably going to struggle to use a standard skew to do this kind of detail. That said, you can do it with a much more narrow tool. So something like my signature beading and parting tool, or perhaps with a round skew. Round skews are quite good at this as well. And the way that I would do that is to start in a kind of peeling action. So the whole edge is in contact with the wood, and then gently tilt the tool. But while I'm tilting the tool, the whole edge really stays in contact. If you contact the top edge of the tool from a fresh start, a standing start as it were, you're likely to get that catch. But if you start with the whole edge engaged and then tilt, you seem to keep a bit more control. So let me show you that. So the whole edge is engaged. You can see the shaving is coming from the entire edge. And then I just tilt that tool over there like that. And you can see that the entire edge is engaged. And from there, I can then carry on turning. So the whole edge is engaged, and then we can go. And that allows you to get this detail, this sloping detail, either a curve or a taper, right up against the bead. The other option is to use a spindle gouge. Now, if I use a spindle gouge in its normal presentation, I would be picking up the cut here just to my right of the tip, and really I can't start cutting until about there, which is ideal if I've got a fillet, but without the fillet that makes that quite difficult. So I need to change the presentation of the tool. So what I'm going to do is roll the tool right over on its side so that the bevel can sit tight against this this bead, so that I can come in here. Now it's important that I don't touch the top edge or the tip of the tool on this bead. There's a high likelihood you're going to get a run back and come back here and ruin that bead. So just the bevel, and then I can use this lower wing. And by using the lower wing, it almost becomes a skew chisel. So I'm going to rotate the tool and come around something like that, so that this wing is doing the cutting, and then I can sweep in and create the shape right up against the bead. So I'll show you that now. So with my 3/8 spindle gouge, I'm going to roll it right over onto its side, really down here, and then I'm going to come in and sweep. And sweep. And so you see I can get, it almost becomes a continuation of the bead, but I have to really roll the tool over, and I can pick it up and then sweep in. So if I want to sweep, then I could use either the gouge or my signature tool. If I want to taper, I'd probably just use the signature tool, but that works really well to create this difficult detail, this either sweep or taper, right next to this bead. So that's how I cut a sweeping detail or a taper next to a bead. I hope you found that helpful. I'll see you in the next video.